Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. I'm down here in the Redneckville, USA state of Tennessee. Proud of that. Just to give them a shout out, all these folks down here. And here to talk some Packers tonight, man. Really, really excited about diving into some awesome topics to hit on. We're going to talk about a new signing the Packers made. Obviously, you guys probably got wind. We got a new cornerback back in the house. Of course, somewhat familiar with that gentleman. We're also going to talk about Matt LaFleur's success since he became the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. But more importantly, we're going to do a deep dive into the potential 53-man roster and a 16, 17-man practice squad, right? And we're going to give kind of a different perspective on that. We're going to approach it from Bill Huber's prediction, and then we'll kind of go through and not necessarily critique it, but just try to look at all the different angles because, here it is. It's Monday, August the 4th. The Packers didn't have an open practice today. I believe they're having 3 straight days of open practice. And then, of course, we got a preseason game coming up Saturday. So I think this is a good time to dive into the roster. All right. Set the stage, week 2 of training camp. How are we feeling about the roster? Who do we think makes it? Who do we think does not make it? Then we'll jump right back into the live coverage throughout the week. So before we do this, if you guys would, do that YouTube stuff for me. Hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. Listen, we're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media members. What we are just fans just like you in here talking Packers on the daily, especially throughout the regular season. We'll be doing pregame shows, postgame shows, film breakdown, in-depth analysis, the whole 9 yards. So if you're looking for daily Packers content, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you click that bell so you get notified every time we go live throughout the season. Jake, how you doing today, bub?
I'm doing all right. It's a Monday, so you're always kind of shaking off the weekend sort of thing. I ate too many racks of ribs. I think I showed you one of the 2 that I made over the weekend, and I'm feeling it today. I had to do a little extra cardio, if you know what I mean.
Bro, I was still recovering from the racetrack, man. I'm just telling you. The food, oh my gosh, the food and, of course, the drinks and everything. It was just, oh, boy, out there in the rain, just hanging. It literally turned into like a I don't even know what to say, Woodstock or something. You know what I mean? It's just everybody hung out for 5 or 6 hours hoping the rain moved out and just turned it into a Bristol Motor Speedway party. It was really cool. I wear Packers gear everywhere I go. I think I counted 6 or 7 different, hey, go Pack throughout the whole night. It was absolutely awesome, man. So got to meet some other Packer fans along the way. Drew D says Bristol is the best NASCAR track. It really is, man. And I'm not saying that just because it's 15 minutes up the road for me. You go to that race, Jake. If you ever want to go to a race, come down here, crash at my pad, go to Bristol. It's just nothing but wreck after wreck after wreck. I mean, if they got it, if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing out there, man. It's absolutely awesome. So,
yeah.
I had a chat here pulled up. Somebody had said, I think it was 2-0 for this, said, let me find it again. I want to hit this real quick. He said, I can't find it. I've lost it. Right here. Maybe it is. Yeah, here we go. Hot take. But if Caleb is the Bears starter week 1, Ben Johnson's already failed. So did you get to see this clip here, Jake?
Is this the one where he crashes out in the net or the one where he crashes out after making a bad throw?
No, we showed the net the other day where he missed 4 straight throws and the net missed the net completely on the last throw, right? Yeah. I mean, like missed the whole net and then got mad, threw a little temper tantrum. This one right here was from their practice the other day. And tell me if this don't look just like last year. Notice how he doesn't have an answer quickly to the question. Let me see if I can go full screen here. That a little bit better. Here we go. Watch this. All right, so you see him. Look, yeah, okay, there's pressure. Know where you're checking it down. Instead, he just chuck and duck, interception. And, of course, Kyle Brandt on NFL Network, being the Bears apologist that he is, he's seen this clip and seen the reaction to it. He went on his little high horse. Like, it's just ridiculous that fans want to cherry pick bad throws in training camp and blah, 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 blah. He's such a whiny little brat, man. It's unbelievable. He just the Bears never do anything wrong. I actually quote tweeted him and threw a clip up where it was Justin Fields' last game as a Chicago Bear, and he went on this little cheesy rant of how you can go into Lambeau and burn it to the ground, and you're going to be the guy of the future. And he was gone the next year. And now we're on to Caleb making excuses for him. But anyway, that's been a hot button topic, and obviously that video was provided by a bunch of different people. It looks like CNG Podcast originally and Sleeper NFL had tweeted it out. Man, you get anything to say about our boy Caleb Williams here, man?
I do, actually. And you know what? I'm not going to pile on because, as Elijah Gwynn highlights, Ryan already did that pretty good this morning. I usually wake up like 4 a.m. For my job. I have to verify that it's open, and I'll usually will throw his podcast on because it takes me a while to fall asleep. So I usually can listen to a whole podcast of his. And every now and then I'll have to go back and re-listen to like the back half kind of thing, right? And this morning I couldn't fall back asleep because he was roasting the Bears. And he did it in the typical Ryan way where it wasn't just, he wasn't beating the dead horse. It was subtleties and sarcasms and, I thought that this is supposed to be good kind of stuff. He,
offensive line, they fixed the offensive line.
They fixed the offensive line. They won the offseason. I don't understand it. They made all these. It was very, very enjoyable. So, as Packer fans, I'd like to say, we're above that. We're not. I totally want to use this time of year to absolutely exploit the type of definitely seems like there's some growing pains there with him and Ben. And, I really hope they get it together. I really hope that they pull it because it'd be now I sound like Ryan.
I'm going to crack up if they get a quarter of the way through the season, Ben Johnson loses his patience and they even think about steering away from Caleb. Could you imagine it? If he's throwing hissy fits for missing nets and on the sideline when he's the starter, could you imagine if for some reason he was playing so bad he got pulled, how he would respond to that on the side? Oh, I don't.
And people think I'm crazy. I swear on anything you wanted me to swear on, I think Tyson Bagent's a better quarterback right now and ready to start in the NFL over Caleb Williams, but they would never do that. If you watch Tyson Bagent, he's a good quarterback.
And here's the thing too, like when people look at the statistics, they say, well, his touchdown to interception ratio was unbelievable. And I think Kyle Brandt pointed out that he went 8 or 9 games without throwing an interception. Look at his yards per pass attempt. Again, one of the most important metrics in when determining how successful, how effective a passing game is in the NFL. Horrible, right? And also him taking sacks. And not only just taking sacks, but taking sacks of holding the ball for 4 seconds or longer. He was leading the league. I think it was 3/4 of the way through the season. The last I heard that stat, he was leading the league in sacks taken while holding the ball for 4 seconds or longer.
Yep.
So it doesn't make a hill of beans if you're protecting the football when you're refusing to throw the ball down the field and move the ball down the field and be effective as an offense. It looks like you're just trying to pad stats and make it look like, hey, this isn't my fault, right? And it's easy to look at the sacks and go, man, he's got a horrible offensive line. Then when you turn on the tape, you see, boy, he don't know where to go with the football. Maybe that'll change this year. That's a possibility. I'm just not holding my breath, man, at all. So anyway, that's enough Chicago Bears talk. I just wanted to hit on that real quick.
Just real quick, because Andy Monday made up. I think Caleb Williams is going to turn the Bears around. Full 360, right back to where they were, that crap organization.
I think that's spot on. So we had a signing earlier today, Jacob. I believe it was earlier today it came down. You may remember this guy, Corey Ballantyne, cornerback that played for the Packers last year. So the Packers go and pick him up, add a little more depth to the cornerback room. So now the question becomes, is there a chance Corey Ballantyne makes the roster? And we'll talk about the deep dive here shortly. Just want to get your take on this because you guys, if you'll remember, Jacob, 2023 had a pretty decent season, right? I want to say he graded out like a 60. And then 2024, I was kind of expecting him to maybe take a step and get some significant playing time. And he fell all the way back into the 50s, and you could see it on the tape. Corey Ballantyne just didn't – it's almost like he didn't fit what Jeff Hafley was doing as much as he fit into that quarters match coverage that our boy Joe Barry liked to run. But nonetheless, they bring him back in. He's familiar with the staff. He's familiar with the coaches. He's familiar with the trainers, familiar with the facility, and just somebody you can get in here and maybe just add an extra body in camp as well. But you got anything to add to the Corey Ballantyne signing?
Not really. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I didn't even hear about it until I sat in the chair. I was at work, just smashed until just before. And even when I heard it, it was interesting, but I don't see him making this roster. I really don't. I think that he was brought in to have just more competition, maybe break glass in case of emergency type player. While I respect what he did when he was here, like Drew D says, he was decent competition when he was here. That's another year removed. Another, guys are going into year 2 a Halfley system. And the biggest thing to me is that he's pushing 30, and we've got a ton of guys that are in that, 3rd string to 7th string cornerback room, including guys like Bo Melton, that I really do want us to have an honest shot on making this team. And what do we always talk about? Take your eye off the ball, or keep your eye on the ball, I should say. I don't want progress stoppers. And I feel like right now that Corey Ballantyne may offer nothing more than kind of slightly raising your floor, you know what I mean, in that cornerback room. But all in all, I believe it'd be more of a hindrance to the young talent that we have.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll keep an eye on Corey Ballantyne, see if he's got a legit shot of making the 53. To me, I don't see it happening, but you never know. And again, hate to say it, but everybody in here knows it's a reality that injuries are going to happen. And why not have somebody in here that you're familiar with? You know kind of what their limitations are. You know what they do well, what they do not so well, because you've already compiled, you've invested time into a guy like that, and you've compiled all this information. And if indeed he makes it to the practice squad or whatever out of camp, or to the 2nd or 3rd week of camp, you've got a little bit better idea of, hey, this is what this player is. Why not go ahead and add him to the mix? So I like the signing. I'm not expecting it to be world changing or anything, but just wanted to mention it there. So
real quick before we move on, like Drew D says, he goes, does this signal the Packers think they need more quarterback depth? Like, does this to you say that, hey, they're saying we were comfortable with our starting 4, but we need a better rotation at that back end? To me, it doesn't quite scream that, but I just think they want more competition.
Yeah, to me, Drew, I think the writing was on the wall, or not the writing's on the wall. The whole purpose of this signing came with the person they released. They actually released Gregory Jr., I believe, if I remember correctly. So what they had decided, they got Gregory Jr. in here, right, and gave him a look. And who knows, he may be back in a couple of weeks. You know how this goes. It may be 3 or 4 days, and then he pops back up on the squad. But to the best of my knowledge, they cut Gregory Jr. and added Ballantyne. I think everybody in here would agree Ballantyne's a better corner than Gregory Jr. up to this point that we know of. So maybe they thought he might have a little bit higher ceiling than Ballantyne. They go that route, get him into camp for a week or 2. Nah, he ain't the dude. Let's get Ballantyne back in there. That's what it feels like to me. It's not so much depth or lack of depth as it is, hey, when we really compare the tape, we like Ballantyne more than Junior. Does that make sense, Jacob?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So there you go. All right, moving along, our good buddy Rob Westerman over on Twitter at GBP Daily put this out. I just love how it's worded. For all the Matt LaFleur haters, tell me if y'all think this is good or not. Since Matt LaFleur became Green Bay's head coach 6 years ago, no team has won more games than the Packers in the entire NFC. I repeat, in the National Football Conference, no other team has won more games since Matt LaFleur became the head coach in Green Bay than the Green Bay Packers. And we always talk about where he ranks overall all time. He's like always hovering around the top 10, top 15 in terms of winning percentage. He's a guy who's now, it was wait till he doesn't have Aaron. Wait till he doesn't have Aaron. He doesn't have Aaron now, and he's continuing to win. I think this is a hell of a feat here, man. I mean, really, this is something that thank God we've got Matt LaFleur as head coach of the Green Bay Packers. And I was hearing a conversation. I'm trying to think of who it was. If it might have been Wildy and Tausch, I can't remember. Someone was talking on the radio, and they were saying that, if it comes down to it, there's been a big conversation of whether Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur will get a contract extension because of comments that Ed Policy made that he doesn't believe in the lame duck coach and this and that. And he's essentially going to wait until their contract's up before he extends them is what it sounds like. But the conversation steered towards, well, if you had to keep one or the other, which would it be? I think everybody unanimously pretty much says, yeah, I would keep Matt LaFleur over Brian Gutekunst. And that's not a knock against Brian Gutekunst. It just shows that if Brian Gutekunst got fired tomorrow, I don't think teams would be lining up to hire him. He would probably get a job, but he wouldn't be like this high, commodity, I don't think. Not as much as Matt LaFleur. Jacob, if Matt LaFleur was – if he hit the market tomorrow or this coming off season, there will be teams lined up around the block to sign this guy as their head coach. And I think that's the true filter you need to run these type of conversations through is how valuable are they to the rest of the league, and maybe we need to step back and go, okay, maybe we should appreciate what he's done, because again, no other team in the National Football Conference has won more games since he became head coach.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, it's a tough one, but that's just because I'm looking at it through the eyes of an absolute homer. And I think that I respect Goody way more than I'm sure the rest of the NFL does, just for what he's done and what I think he's had to go through and how he's handled this certain situations. I mean, this is a Packers podcast. I'm not trying to stray off of it, but I just look at what's going on like in Dallas and in Washington and Cincinnati and Chicago and New York, both teams. And it's just, we at least don't have that. Even, our little bit of drama that we had, we seem to kind of nip it in the bud. And to those that we didn't quite, have a resolution, let's say with Elton, something was said, or there's an unspoken understanding that this isn't how we do things in Green Bay. Let's keep it quiet. We keep it behind closed doors. And then if there is an issue, the Packers aren't afraid to move away from people and drastically and kind of seemingly, do it for different reasons. But it is tough. Matt LaFleur is a very winning coach, and I think guys really do play for him. So I would probably have to agree that Matt LaFleur would be by far the hotter commodity.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a gorgeous man,
Man, we got off the rails quick there. Listen, I like Goody too. Don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying we should get rid of Goody. I'm simply saying if I had to choose between one or the other, I'm definitely leaning toward Matt LaFleur as opposed to Gutekunst. But I hope they both get extensions. Andy says, why in the world are we thinking of firing either? Exactly, Andy, right?
Right.
But the conversation got brought up because Ed Policy made a couple comments here earlier this offseason in talking about, and listen, that we could go pull the exact quotes. You guys take the time to do that. But essentially it was, do you plan on extending Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst this year? And he basically said, no, not this year. There's no reason to. They're still under contract.
Right.
And then he said I think he said he didn't believe in the lame duck head coach.
Which is like the most Packers answer ever, to say, no, they're not in a contract. You're like, why would I,
Exactly.
That's his job to be kind of stingy with the pocketbook,
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, Andy, I don't want you to take it the wrong way, but we're not trying to run them out of town. It's just I seen this come across and thought, man, can we just take a second and acknowledge this? Because that's a stat I didn't know. I knew he would be up there because his winning percentage is among some of the best all time in the history of the entire league. So when you see something like this, a new statistic about, winning more games since he became head coach in the NFC, it's pretty impressive. Cody Newman says people hate on both and they're both above average. That's to say the least. Yeah. I mean, to me, Matt LaFleur, if you had to score him, 1 to 10, right, I'd probably put him at about an 8.
I was going to say 8.5, just because of, we want to see him finish in the playoffs. I like what Dennis said here. He says, since we traded away A-Rod, the biggest scandal we've had in Green Bay is Jaden Reed's agent to call and see if he could have number 1. Like, that's pretty much true. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And again, that kind of got debunked, right, Dennis? Like, it's something that, when basically Adam Schefter backed off of that tweet real fast, and everybody's blowing this out of proportion. Like, Adam, Bub, your tweet said that his agent wanted to know if he's going to be the number 1 receiver or not. It's essentially what you said. So yeah, I'm with you, Dennis. And again, that goes back to what we talked about. I don't think there would be anything wrong with getting Elton Jenkins some guaranteed money. And guys, understand, it doesn't mean you're giving him a raise. You're not doing that. What you're simply doing is you're committing to him next year. You're taking that money that's already allocated, that money that's already against the cap, and you're converting a little bit more to guaranteed to show him, hey, look, we are keeping you next year. You're not a lame duck center this year is essentially what it's saying, right? But Goody not doing that, if he does that, there's going to be 2 or 3 other players, Jacob, that are lined up going, hey, what about me? What about me? And that's the precedent you set within your organization. It's something that Bill Belichick did so well as the general manager of the New England Patriots for so long, is he would not let that get out of line. And when you let it get out of line, you end up with your Terry McLaurin's pissed off. You end up with your Micah Parsons, CD Lamb last year, Dak Prescott the year before that, right? You start to cave a little bit, and now that momentum continues to bend in that direction. So, it's kind of how we see it there. So let's see what Jeff Jones says. Anytime somebody comes in with all caps, this should be interesting. I'm not going to scream like you are, Jeff, but we'll read it here. But Clayton, why are you satisfied with mediocrity 3 question marks. Don't ever compare Gary to Micah again. Don't compare him to TJ, Max, or Miles either. Oh, boy. Do we need to pull the statistics? Do we need to pull the fact that Rashawn Gary had a higher pressure rate than both TJ Watt and Max Crosby last year? Do we do that? First of all, no one ever said Gary was as good as Myles Garrett. No one ever said, hey, I would take, if I chose between the two, I would take Gary over TJ Watt. We're simply saying people like you, Jeff, who are constantly over the top. It's embarrassing to the fan base because you're not actually looking at what is the scheme calling for? What does the tape show? You're going and reading the box score. You're going and looking at the sack numbers, and you're going. And let me ask you this: if these guys are so damn good, I ask this again. Where's that? Pull that back up one more time, Jake. I want to make sure I get these names right. I'll find it. I got you right here. Just hold on to that one you got there. If they're so good, why did Dallas not make the playoffs last year? If Micah's so good, if TJ Watt is so good, and he's worth paying $40+ million to, why did he not make the Steelers not make the playoffs last year? If Max Crosby is just such a game wrecker, so darn good, how come the Raiders missed the playoffs last year? If Myles Garrett is this generational talent that we're talking about, how come they don't have a top 3 defense? How come they missed the playoffs? And the point isn't to say these guys are bad players. Nobody's saying that. Nobody is saying Rashawn Gary is better than any of those guys. We're simply saying from a schematic standpoint and what Jeff Hafley asked them to do last year, it's so obvious on the tape with the touch spine and the way the stats laid out, the way the tape looks is let's stop the run first and foremost. Forget the sack numbers. Let's stop the run and let's really contain the pass. Let's try to get pressure with 4 through simulated pressure. Simulated pressures doesn't mean you're blitzing. It means you're still bringing 4. You're showing fire zone blitzes, essentially what you're doing. How come the Packers defense went to a top 5 defense? Top 5 in scoring, 2nd in run defense, 8th in pass defense. But boy, oh boy, Gary is horrible. And he led the team in sacks. He leads the team in pressures. He leads the team. He led the entire National Football League in run stop percentage amongst edge defenders. See how people conveniently leave that out. So if you want sacks and you want stats, hey, go root for the Steelers. They got all kinds of sacks. Go root for the Browns. Hey, Myles Garrett, boy, he'll get you 16, 17, 18 sacks a year. But how come they're not winning? Anyway, Jake, you had another comment there. Go ahead and hit it, man.
It's just a great comment by Respect Oranges. He says somewhere Jeff Jones is squeezing that guinea pig tighter than a frog fart.
Oh man,
I don't know. I mean, Jeff's coming in hot. Clearly here he's got an opinion. It is like you said. You're looking at it through, I think, a weird lens, man. Just saying like we need to overpay this. We need to pay Micah Parsons $40 million because sometimes he's good at rushing the passer. Where it's like you said, take a step back, look at it from 30,000 feet. Did that help the Dallas Cowboys as a team complete their goals? Did it even help them get into the playoffs? Did it even help, their defense be considered a highly feared defense at all? Did it help the team in any way? I don't think it did. Same with Micah Parsons, same with TJ Watt, same with, insert player here. It's not the way you build a team, man.
Right. And if he's so damn good, how come teams aren't lining up to give those 2 first-round picks for him, right? How come that's not happening? Why are the Dallas Cowboys so hesitant in paying him? You know what I mean? You're talking about Rashawn Gary last year. What was he? $11 million against the cap. This year it jumps to 23 or 24. Micah Parsons is going to be $40 million per. You're one injury away from having that big of a chunk percentage of your salary cap allocation completely wiped off, right? Off the field, and you're still on the hook for that money. Andy Monday makes a great point. None of the other pass rushers would have current stats with the reduced snaps they would have in Green Bay. Andy, it's a beautiful point. And these are the things that people like Jeff, they don't look at. They right? That when you go and look at Max Crosby and you're talking about 98% play time, and then you look at Rashawn Gary where they got that heavy rotation, it's twofold. Like, if Rashawn Gary had the same amount of snaps, you understand that Rashawn Gary had, I think it was almost 200 less pass rush snaps than Max Crosby, and they had the same amount of sacks. They both finished with 7.5. People don't know that because they're too lazy to go look up the numbers. They're too lazy to actually look at how much play time they got. And Andy he's spot on here. Imagine you go get Micah Parsons, right? And you trade 2 first-round picks for him. And then we're already over the cap next year because of his salary cap implications with the new contract he's going to demand, right? And then on top of that, you only play him 60% of the snaps or whatever the number is, right? Let's say you go that route. How is that money well spent? It's not. So, and again, everybody bitched and moaned about the run defense, right? Until we have a run defense. And now it's, well, where are the sacks? You got to get you can't have everything. You got to give something to gain another, right? It's just like when you're playing quarters coverage or like what Hafley did last year, Jacob, playing mostly cover 3, cover 6, and cover 2 defense, right? With a little Tampa 2 mixed in, which is cover 2 with the mid-third option. When you approach it that way, the numbers aren't going to shake out the same way as someone who's blitzing 60% of the time or whatever the number may be. It may be a little bit exaggerant there, but it's just
I hate, whatever. We'll move off this in a second, but he goes on to say, Micah Parsons finished the top 3 defensive play voting, 3 times in his first grade. He's listing out.
Who gives a rat's ass about an award?
I don't care. And here's the same thing. Micah Parsons, 4 years, 172 tackles, 84 assists, 52.5 sacks, 4 fumble recoveries. And then he lists Gary just below it. Compare the wins of both teams. Compare the winning of both teams. Did one of them make the playoffs? Did one of them? It doesn't make sense, bro. You are comparing apples to oranges and be like, they're the same. They're the same thing. Like it's plug and play as if that's how it works. It's not how it works. If we give up 2 first-round draft picks, you just screw our whole future right there. And you're giving them 40. I can't.
If you take the numbers he just shared, notice how he conveniently didn't break it down by pass rush.
Right.
It's just the overall numbers, right? Because when you compare it by pass rush and on a per snap basis, that's why like when we talk passing offense and how effective a team is, we're talking about yards per pass attempt. That's what's important to me. I could care less how many yards they throw for every game because if they've got 20 extra attempts or 15 extra attempts, that number is going to be inflated even though they were less effective in the passing game. Same thing goes with the running game. Some people like to look at rush defense and they go, well, they gave up more yards per game than this team, therefore they're not better. No, look at the yards per carry. Because if your team turns the ball over 3 times in that game and they get 3 extra possessions and that equals 8 extra attempts, well, 8 times 2, 8 times 3 is an extra 24 yards rushing or whatever it is. That's going to make your rushing offense look better than it actually is. So that's why I try to ignore comments like that because I think people just want to argue. They just want to, kind of disagree. And that's why I typically go, hey, man, we disagree. No big deal.
I just have a feeling that man's name isn't really Jeff Jones. I'll just say that.
No, we do have a lot of burners in here. I'll just say that too. Run into them on Twitter a lot. It's funny. The people that get, exposed, they all of a sudden change their name. But anyway, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time being divisive. It's just that's part of it there, though, man. People that, again, it's box score watchers is what it is. It's like in college football, especially around recruiting time, you get the recruiting classes coming through. They call them stargazers. They just go to a website and go, who's got the most stars? Oh, they're really good at recruiting. And then they don't even think about looking up in 6 months when everybody's kind of adjusted the rankings and go, oh, wow, that wasn't a great class. It just looked good at the time because I'm just looking at the simplest form of the numbers. And again, we will always on this show go back to the tape. The tape tells you the entire story. And there are some people that are too lazy to go watch the tape, and they're the ones that go, oh, I know the tape guys say this, the tape guys say that. It's just wild. It's mind-boggling to me that you don't want to learn. You don't want to actually understand. Here's what actually happened on the field. And I'm telling you, you can't see it on a TV copy. You can't. You got to get the box cam. You got to get the all 22 to truly understand what a player's being asked to do. So anyway, didn't expect the Matt LaFleur conversation to go to me settling for mediocrity, though. which is, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna laugh, dude, this year if LVM blows up, because people like the Jeff Joneses, they will be, you'll never hear from them again. That's the way that typically works. Yep. Drew D with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. He says Daniel Jeremiah said he went to a number of teams' practices and the defense is ahead of the offense in every one of them. Amen, Drew. It's always like that, right? Every single year it's like that, Jacob, because offenses are trying to get their timing down. Offenses are trying out new things, right? Defense typically, well, you heard Hafley. He's already got his install is complete. The defense is, they've already, not only do they have the install complete, but now they've already moved on to adjustments for those installs, right? Yep. Matt LaFleur's probably still trying to figure out who's going to be my 1 and my 2. You know, who's going to line up in the 1 and the 2 in my trips left look? Who's going to be, taking these snaps at speed Z until Christian Watson gets back, so on and so on. How much 12 are we going to press into? So, yeah, Drew, that's a great point. Daniel Jeremiah is one of my favorite, man. He's such an intelligent football mind. When people like that talk, Jacob, when people like Daniel Jeremiah, people like Kurt Warner, it's amazing how many fans want to argue with Kurt Warner on Twitter at what they're seeing at the quarterback position. I'm like, you do realize it's a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback that you're telling that you're trying to convince him you understand the game better than him. That's just wild to me. So, but thank you for the super chat, Drew. So it's a great point, man. You ready to get into this roster projection here, Jacob?
Sure am. It is funny though that Drew put that up. I was actually going to mention that today. There wasn't a lot that the Packers put out as far as interviews or anything that I could grab some substance from. So I sparked up that podcast because I know Emilio has been he's highly recommended that podcast, and I really do enjoy it. But it was I think it was Bucky that went on to say after that point, like, you have to think about it from a way of the defense has got basically one job. It's to stop the offense, right? And the offense, though, it's just so much more intricate. Like you just talked about, there are so many moving parts as to what the lineup is, the rotation, certain implements of certain schemes, the way that they're going to react to the defense. Get the ball, see ball, get ball. Offense is very nuanced and it has all these moving, like I said, parts. It does make sense that around maybe a quarter through the year, offenses start now pulling ahead of the defenses. But I will say, even all that being said, and I believe that to be true, I think there's something different about the Packers defense this year. Just gauged on where they are now in other, parts of other years. I just do think that they are a few steps, past where we usually see Packers defense at this time of year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It does. Listen, you got a young team, right? And I'm tired of saying that. That's why I was hoping we get a little bit older this year where we can kind of press into a little veteran presence. And I feel like we did get a little bit older, but I think we're still the youngest team. I don't know. We'll see when the camp breaks, exactly how that comes into play. But when it comes to the defense, like you're saying, Jacob, I'm just going based off of the stuff that I've seen, what I've learned over, I've started watching. I always tell people I've watched football since I was, 8 years old is my first memory of actually getting into football. But I didn't start studying the game of football until 2009, 2010, right? So I've only got about a little over a decade of experience of actually learning, right? I guess 15 years now of trying to study the game and learn the game and still got so much more to learn. And what I've always see a common thread is second year with a defensive system typically takes a slight step back. And that's why I'm prepping myself like, okay, if they take a slight step back and they're still borderline top 10, that's not the end of the world. I'm prepared for that. But I know what you're saying. It does feel like Jeff Hafley, a little bit different animal, and they may actually take a step forward. And I hope that's the case. But I'm from Kentucky. You got to show me. The show me state. I know everybody says that about their own state, but I'm expecting good things out of them. Don't get me wrong. I think the more critical part, Jacob, is what we do on offense and protecting the football. Like we got to win the turnover battles, the turnover ratio battle, meaning we need to give the ball away far less than we take the ball away from the opponent. I think that's what's truly going to determine, us winning an extra 1, 2, maybe 3 games and getting to that 13 win mark like LaFleur's done. And what did he do it 3 years in a row? His first 3 years in Green Bay, I think. So, yeah. All right. Let's move it along here. Bill Huber's 2025 roster prediction. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Bill Huber. This was an awesome article. I could have pulled the article up. I didn't want to do that to him. What I did was basically wrote down what he had projected, what his kind of prediction is on the roster. So if you guys would help me show some love to Bill Huber over on Twitter. And also you can just click on this link in our Patreon group that'll send you directly to his article. There's a lot more information in there where you can kind of see why he picked these positions and which players would stay. So let's jump into it, man. First of all, quarterbacks. All right. 53-man roster. He's keeping 2. Jordan Love, Malik Willis. Practice squad, Jacob, Taylor Elgersma. So he actually thinks, at least at this point right now, again, everybody's got the right to change their mind. It's early in camp. We're entering the second week here. But he thinks Taylor Elgersma will go to the practice squad and Sean Clifford will be cut loose. I don't think there's any concern with Sean Clifford being picked up by another team, maybe on a practice squad. You know what I mean? But I think there's still a chance that if for some reason we get a little ways into the season, Taylor Elgersma isn't advancing the way they want him to, or they don't like the way he's operating, helping operate scout team, that they could still go get Sean Clifford. But what do you think about that, man? That first thing right out of the gate kind of caught my attention. Would you be okay with keeping Taylor Elgersma over Sean Clifford?
Man, honestly, I don't know. That's one that I didn't think I'd have to think that hard about, but just the fact, I believe, wasn't Clifford a 5th-round draft pick? I personally think that maybe the only reason they would is an age thing, and I don't remember Elgersma's age right now. If you guys want to hit that in the chat, I think that if you want to look for what you know as far as consistency, is if you want to go in and just have, like you said, a guy that on the practice squad knows the offense, knows how to communicate that to the guys that are on that practice squad, therefore to the rest of the team if they were to ever get that chance. I think they definitely keep Clifford. If you are completely looking at the fact that, hey, maybe Malik Willis is not here next year, we need to have ourselves a backup that has a little more upside. I think that, yeah, you probably try to take a stab with Elgersma and hope that he can develop into actually becoming a formidable backup for, let's say, probably the next 2 to 3, 4 years to come as well. If I had to pick one I would do right now, I'm going to be a little conservative. I think I'd probably still take Clifford.
Okay, got it. Let's go to the chat. 2-0 for this says the Clifford experiment is over for me. Joseph says Clifford is gone. All right. Daryl says Sean Clifford threw a football into the net.
There you go.
Joseph says Clifford's going to the XFL. So Turtles Elgersma is going to prove it Saturday. Man, I just got excited hearing you say that or reading your comment there, Soul Turtles. Get to watch these guys go out there and wing that thing around. It's going to be fun, man. I want to see a little Malik Willis, Jacob. Do you think they put Malik Willis out there for a decent amount of time to try to improve his trade stock, or do you think they just say, you know what, let's keep him out of harm's way and let's just let Taylor Elgersma and Sean Clifford run it?
Yeah, I know what I'd do is I would give him probably every first quarter and then let those other two just absolutely ball out, because I think we kind of know what Malik is, but I do think that going into this season, we want Malik to be ready. We saw what happened last year. He was very good off the bench, almost to the point of shockingly so, where we didn't see that coming. And I think this year, that, like you said, there's 2 reasons to do it. Keep him ready to go, keep him warmed up, keep that, I think that he is, like Coach said, I think he maybe does need some work as far as if he is going to be a plug and play. Like if at any point Love goes out, God forbid, we want him to be able to come in and have adequate amount of practice time, playing time, so that he can kind of keep up with the speed. I really loved what I saw from him last year, and I do think that he takes a step this year. And whether that is just a trade bait scenario where it's like, yeah, we want him to, on one hand, come in and be able to be a productive quarterback if we need him. And like you said, on the other hand, show off some new toys that we have that maybe the rest of the league after about 4 or 5 weeks are like, all right, this is not going to happen. This isn't going to work. We need a considerable backup that we could maybe, get some real draft capital for. I'm all about it. I don't know. I think I still agree with the original statement. Oops, sorry.
You good, man. Dennis Shook says here in the chat, y'all are treating Clifford the way Jacob treats me. I'm done being anyone's last resort. So nobody puts Dennis Shook in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Drew D says Elgersma has not looked that great to me, but I haven't seen that much. Elgersma does qualify for the international spot, I believe. Drew, I'd love to get that completely fact checked, because I thought the same thing originally too. And then I want to say someone said he does not qualify for that. I could be wrong there. I don't know if it's something that maybe Canada doesn't qualify or what, but I kind of thought that's the first thing that crossed my mind too, was like, that might be a way that you could, kind of keep them both. But Holmes MD1 says a year too soon to cut Clifford, in my opinion. All right, got it, man. United Bates says Elgs is 23 years old. That's one thing he's got going for him.
Yeah.
Because Sean Clifford's, 26? Am I thinking right? Like 26 or 27? He's getting older now. So, which is wild to think about. But, all right, let's move it along.
Just
Running back.
Braden says Canada doesn't count. I don't know if that's just for football, but I agree with that sentiment.
Jacob, come on now, man. We got great friends of the show in Canada. There's good people in Canada, man. Great people in Canada. What the hell's wrong with you, Jacob?
Syrup eaters.
Man, anybody I've ever known that's taken a trip to Canada, they're like, Clayton, you got to go. You would love it. It's beautiful up there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I would like to get to Canada sooner or later. So moving on to running back. Actually, before we dive into running back, that'd be a good spot to stop it there. For those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour one. We're going to pick up on this conversation on hour two, where we will continue with the running backs, and we'll fly through this roster projection from Bill Huber. Just a little exercise to kind of get us ready for the second week of training camp. We'll see you on the other side. We appreciate you.